All right. Today on the house line, we have a tech entrepreneur and software engineer. He's worked at Electronic Arts as well as Amazon, and he's also launched a couple of tech products aimed at the local and regional market. That's Ticketer and M Carnival Manager. Matthew Talma, welcome to the house.
Nice to be here. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the house, man.
Thanks. Yeah. So, did everybody have a good carnival? Dexter, how about you?
Yeah, carnival was awesome.
Yeah. What did you do?
Drury, friends for the road.
Okay.
Yeah, just slime around Tuesday as usual.
All right.
Bounce up a bunch of people, including this guy here.
Yeah, man. Well, I was in Tobago. I decided to duck out, and it was real nice, man. The sun was good. It would actually rain in the morning, and then by lunchtime it was like hot sun.
Right.
And for the first time, I went to this Buko Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there before. You know where they have the goat racing?
Yeah.
So you drive all the way down that road, and you take a left into like a car park panyard thing, and then you could actually drive up onto the beach.
Yeah. It's a long stretch of beach.
It's a whole beach. It reminds me of Las Cuevas. Like, it wraps all the way around and just beautiful and pristine, and no buildings on the beach. It's all just like natural.
And usually pretty quiet too. Not many people there.
Yeah, man. It was real nice. So, Matthew, what about you? Came down for carnival?
Yeah, came down for carnival. Brought a couple friends who I used to be roommates with in college.
Oh, nice one.
And we bounced up Dexter, and we played both days.
Ah.
I mean, it was a lot of fun.
So you did Juve and you did carnival.
Yeah.
Wait, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool, man. Yeah, so today you've done a lot in the tech sort of digital space. And we usually start off with hearing about people's journeys, Yeah. So, like, what was your inspiration, and then what were these steps that you took for this career?
Yeah. Let's see. I started way back when I was 15, 16, started to program.
Really?
Yeah. And the main inspiration for me was I love video games.
Yeah.
I remember playing the original Half-Life. I don't know if you all remember that.
Yeah.
Then Half-Life 2 eventually. But, I couldn't get over, like, the sense of, like, creating these worlds from scratch, all the physics and everything. And ever since then, I was like, man, I need to build games.
Yeah.
So,
and this was what? This was like when you were, what high school you went to in Trinidad?
St. Anthony's.
St. Anthony's. Okay, so this is in your St. Anthony's days.
Yeah.
You're gaming and wondering, like, okay, how can I create this?
Yeah, I was with my cousin. He had a 486, and we were playing Dune 2.
486. What is a 486?
That was before the Pentium.
Okay. Right.
And we would play Dune 2, and that was like the precursor to Command and Conquer. That would come out a little later.
Well, that is my kind of thing. Like, those kind of, I used to love those strategy games. So, like, Command and Conquer, and then like StarCraft.
Yes, exactly.
That kind of thing. I was real into that.
And you used to dial up, to the other person.
Yeah.
Connect to their modem directly, and when your mom picked up the phone, it would disconnect the game. And like, Mom, what's going on? My tank is not moving.
Yeah. StarCraft, and then what was the other one? Warcraft, right?
Warcraft, yeah.
Yeah, before the World of Warcraft, there was Warcraft, I think 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then Warcraft, I think, got modded into this other game. What is it called? My brother was like addicted, or still is. Dota.
Oh, Dota. Yeah, Dota was huge.
I think. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry.
Games. Yeah.
So games, yeah.
Yeah.
And what? So when did you start programming? I mean, you picked up a book. Online. Like, how do you teach yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it was my first programming book was C for Dummies.
Right.
And I remember going to like Miami or something for like Christmas, and going into a Barnes and Nobles and picking up that book and just like devouring it page by page,
Wow.
And ever since then, just like ordering a whole bunch of books off Amazon. So,
right.
Because in that time there was no classes in school.
Exactly.
I don't think we even had a computer lab at school.
Yeah.
So I was just really, really passionate about it from young.
Yeah. I mean, Dex, if I remember in our Fatima days,
yeah,
our computer class was like this is how you turn on your computer. This is how you turn off your computer. And then there was like a little binary in there about the ones and zeros and whatever. But it was real basic.
Yeah.
It was real basic, you know. So, I mean, I didn't dream of there could be, you know, that I could ever build games or be a developer or whatever, because it just wasn't part of the, you know, it wasn't part of our teachings in school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So so how far did you get in high school days? Like, how good did you get? Like, what could you build from what you learned from those books?
I mean, I remember it being a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because C is a very hard language to start off with.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, C is very low level. You have to do a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, is the foundations of getting like to something showing on screen.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So, I mean, I got pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But it was not until like college days that I was able to put together like my first game.
Right. Okay.
You know, I mean, all the time before was great building blocks to get there, and I really like began to understand how these things worked and why you have programming languages and what memory is and all that nonsense.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's not until much later that I was able to put together a full game, and that was magical. Right. After that, you just hooked.
So from St. Anthony's, what university do you go to after that?
University of Virginia.
Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
So they had like what did you study exactly?
I did electrical engineering and computer science.
On computer science. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was interested in that like overlap, you know, between electrical engineering, like you know, building a
The
calculator
hardware
from
side of it.
scratch,
Yeah.
you know, and how all those things interact, and like moving on to how you design compilers that actually like ingested the computer language and actually turned that into like an instruction set, you know?
Yeah. So
that was,
could
like,
you build like
fun
a robot with that or something?
Yeah, sure. And we did, you know?
You did? Okay.
We did in those days. It was a lot of fun.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, how soon after that did you get into the working world? Like, what was your first job?
Yeah, the transition was interesting. Me and two buddies did a project, an end of year project, and it was to build. The class was advanced computer graphics.
Okay.
Right, and that was right up my alley, you know. And I found two other friends who were like as passionate as me. We got together and we just like burned the midnight oil for like a couple of months, and we were able to put together a pretty full-fledged game.
Right.
And it was based on an island. We had all sorts of stuff, and the professor at the time was pretty impressed with what we put together, and he put us in contact with EA, with some guys at EA.
Right.
And they flew us out to DC actually, and he was trying to hook us up with an internship, but they weren't like hiring anybody.
Okay.
And then they put us on to EA in Redwood Shores, which is right below San Francisco. And then, you know, the rest, they got an interview and, you know.
And then you ended up working there.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
College.
So what is it like working in a company like EA? I mean, it's huge, right? I mean, like, anytime I would ever, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but, you know, if I could play a game all the way to the end and you see those credits, it's like tons of names, like how many people work on these games that are involved in these games. I mean, what is it like? What does the team look like? Like, what is the process?
Yeah. It's a huge team. You have people working on sound, on the animation, you know, just the UI artists, like designing the screens and what the menus look like. And then you have people dedicated to physics and of course, like, these game engines have been around for a while, especially at EA. They've been developed over the years, and people have added to them. But yeah, a very big team, and it takes a long time. The first game I worked on took 3 years.
Whoa. Which one was that?
That was a Godfather 2.
Ooh, that was a big game. Godfather 2. Yeah. Nice one. Yeah. So,
and your involvement in it was what? Like,
so we had a fairly small team, actually. I was lucky to work on a small team, and we were just tasked with creating a multiplayer experience. So the Godfather series at EA never had multiplayer capabilities, you know. So it was a single player game. So halfway through development, they were just like, you know what, we want a multiplayer component of it. And I was put together with like 2 other guys to build that whole multiplayer experience.
Okay. Wow.
Which was it was an uphill battle, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I think we had more fun than anyone else because we got to like play the experience on a weekly basis, and we had QA team sit next to us and plenty drinks. And it was just real fun.
That's awesome, man, because you're building a game and then you also get to play the game, I mean, I think a lot of Trini gamer geeks that's their dream job, or everybody wants to be a game tester as well, they figure that is the greatest thing in the world.
But you'll be surprised, those guys work real hard, and I wouldn't want that job because it's the same thing over and over again. You need to do the same thing over and over again, and it gets really repetitive. I have a lot of respect for those guys.
What are they actually doing? Are they looking for bugs?
They're looking for bugs,
right? Yeah, basically, so they're trying to break the game.
Yeah, exactly. In ways you wouldn't imagine.
Right.
They go to like the smallest nook and cranny and they see if they can get through it, and they have to like write up that bug and send it over to triage, and it's a bit
So like what is like the biggest game from EA right now? Because I know there's the whole EA Sports thing, which is like FIFA.
Yep.
And I know that's huge in Trinidad. I don't know about the rest of the Caribbean, but I mean it's huge.
Yep.
Is Battlefield from EA as well?
Battlefield.
What are their major titles?
Yeah, EA is a huge producer.
Yeah.
Right, and they Battlefield was DICE, and I think EA produced it, so they did all the marketing and everything for it. I think the relationship is a lot stronger now. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the FIFA series was huge, and then you had the NFL.
Right,
series,
of
Madden,
course.
Which is also huge.
Because
every year
big in the US. Yeah. And then there's the whole basketball ones as well, the NBA.
Sports are huge.
Yeah. And then, as you said, every single year it's a brand new one.
Yeah.
Slightly different gameplay, slightly better graphics.
Right. Yeah.
But man, people always have to have the latest.
Yeah.
How to have the latest one.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So what was after EA?
So EA, I spent about 2.5 years at EA, and then I came back home to Trinidad.
Okay.
My father passed away, and he had a business in Trinidad that was doing fairly well, but it was completely outside of my field. It was horticulture. It was like he designed gardens, and he was very talented.
Yeah.
And then he also had plant rental company, and he also had a garden maintenance company, right? So they were all one thing.
Right.
And one of the things I was doing, I wanted to do, is a subscription garden maintenance service. So that you could sort of like log on, enter your garden, attributes, and then we would come up with a price, and you would press subscribe, and then we would just show up at your house, and
and it would just like come out monthly from your credit card.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And so we built that, and it was pretty good. It was pretty successful, but at the end of the day, I left that all behind, and I went on to do something a little bit more engineering focused.
Yeah.
And that was Kixeye?
That was actually Above Group. Above
Group. Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you worked in the agency world down here.
Right.
So what were you doing for them?
I was the digital manager. So I led like a small team across there, and they were doing everything digital: social media, app development, website development.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. And so after Above, you decided to head back to the US, or
I took a little time off after Above, and then that's when I started to work on Ticketer a bit, and then Ticketer was about 9 months development before we launched, and during that time I started to work at Kixeye. I went back to San Francisco and started to work at Kixeye.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about Ticketer for a bit.
Yeah.
So Ticketer, for people who don't know, what is Ticketer?
So Ticketer is, I want to say, the Caribbean's first way to... It was a native app for Android and iOS where you can purchase movie tickets on your phone.
Right, and those movie tickets are from Movietown.
Movietown,
right? Not you don't have IMAX and Caribbean Cinemas 8 on it. So it's like a partnership with Movietown. How does that work?
Now it's like default that at the time when we were launching it, we wanted to get IMAX involved. We wanted to get Caribbean Cinemas. We wanted to like maybe go to Latin America.
Yeah.
So that's why it had a separate branding entirely to like Movietown, because that was the goal.
Right. I mean, even with a name like Ticketer, I mean, you could even get any tickets in there, right? You could start looking at FETs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Was that the plan as well?
No, that was never the plan.
Right.
At-
It was
at the
really a
time,
movie thing.
It's just movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you approach that? I mean, is it that you saw a problem that you were trying to solve? How did you come up with the idea and then decide, okay, this is what we need? you know?
It pretty. I mean, I love.
Or were you just trying to build something?
And
that
yeah,
you
I
would use?
just wanted to build something. When you get that itch, So I just started to work on it.
Yeah.
I didn't get any buy-in from Movietown. I didn't have any interest in anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled in my buddy who had worked with at EA,
Yeah.
Stavros.
Right.
And he heard what I was doing, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I have some free time. Why not?" And that's the thing. We didn't have at the time. We didn't have any business plan. We didn't have any clients. We just wanted to build it.
Yeah.
iOS was fairly new, and we had dabbled in it a little bit, so
Right.
we just started to build it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we showed it to Movietown, it was done. We
Right.
didn't have the payment integration,
Right.
but everything else was done.
Right.
As it turned out, the payment integration in the Caribbean was a lot harder than actually building the app. we were able to build the app.
Yeah, well,
in 3 months.
we know that well.
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
that well.
And
Yeah.
I think to integrate payments, took 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Wow.
And,
Yeah. And that would be through First Atlantic.
First Atlantic,
Mhm.
yeah, FCB and First Atlantic, but
Right.
it was just jumping through all the loopholes. I'm sure y'all guys know.
Yeah.
Having them do the KYC, you proving that you're actually not a
Yeah.
bad guy,
Mhm.
or actually getting Movietown to sort of talk on our behalf, make sure that and then the integration itself, because we integrated fully with Stripe already.
Right.
And it was nice. Everything was
Easy.
native.
Yeah.
But they wanted, the hosted payment page and all that jazz, and that just took a long time for approvals from the bank side. So
Mhm. And Ticketer is plugged into Movietown's system or whatever. So
Yeah.
how does that work? There's some API.
yeah. And that was challenging too. That was really challenging because Movietown, rightly so, didn't have all that documentation.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what they had. So
Yeah.
they were running on a software system that I think that was built in New Zealand. And we needed to talk with them and get the API docs, and it wasn't an easy integration. We needed to dig inside there and sort of do trial and error to
Right.
get things to work. So,
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to go into this, but how does the monetize? How do you make money from it?
Right. So it's pretty simple. We charge a transaction, a convenience fee.
A convenience fee.
Convenience fee.
Yeah.
On a per ticket basis. So
Mhm.
if you want to use Ticketer, the next Marvel movie is coming out, and it's going to be sold out. Instead of going down there, you just pay a $5 charge on top of it,
Yeah.
and you get your tickets on your phone.
And then you don't have to worry about if you get there on time or whatever. Your thing is booked.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you started this off wanting to build games,
Yeah.
but then there's also this trend, or you leaning towards building solutions as well.
Yeah.
What part of it are you more passionate about?
Yeah. That's
Right
a
now.
great question.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a transition in my thinking. Games are great. I
Yeah.
would love to do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard to make an impact building games. I mean, the way that I saw a need in the Caribbean, I think games have a place. Making games is very hard.
Right.
It's challenging on many fronts, from a development standpoint,
Mhm.
but also to fund a team to do that over a period of half a year to a year. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
And then there's a lot of people involved as well, right? Because as I said, with the same, when you see the trailer at the end or whatever,
Yeah,
the credits at the
yeah.
end. Sorry,
And
tons of
plus
people
you're-
you need.
You're entering a very saturated market as well.
True.
How do you stand out?
Mhm.
So I think app development, because at the time when we got into it, iOS was on the rise. Everyone started to have a smartphone.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to make an impact, building an app, solving a real need that somebody had, even if it was simple as getting a movie ticket so
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
go and see, Captain America or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So I definitely saw that we could definitely have an impact in the Caribbean by doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that really captured my imagination.
And even though you're based in the US, like you are looking for a solution in the Caribbean. I mean, because Ticketer and M Carnival band as well is sort of focused on our market. Like, what's he thinking there?
Yeah, there's a concept of your unfair advantage.
Okay.
Right, and my unfair advantage definitely is a software engineering background and the Caribbean.
Right.
You know, and merging those two, you know, gives me an advantage over, say, like the guy who went to MIT but doesn't know about our market. You know, he has all the right tools to solve the problems we have, but he doesn't know about the problems. And you know, further, he might not be passionate about solving those problems. Right? I am.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely saw the need for something like Ticketer. I definitely saw the need for M Carnival, which we can go into a little later. There was definitely a need for that as well, you know, and we saw that and we were able to
for sure. I mean, like in the Caribbean as well, or in Trinidad, it's so small. I think I said this in another episode already, but everybody kind of knows somebody who knows somebody kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So you could just think about a company or whoever the person is you need to speak to, and you must have some friend or family member who knows them or who could get you in front of them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then on top of that, being here is almost like, it's like, not even like a crystal ball, but like, because we are maybe a few years behind, like the US, for example, something that takes off there does not here as yet. You're like, well,
yeah, exactly. You can bring
it kind of makes sense. But then the balancing act is being too early.
Yeah.
You know, like, because that is a possibility as well. You know, because you spoke about some of the challenges with the payment gateway, for example, and then as I said earlier, like I don't have some stats, but I know credit card penetration is low in the Caribbean compared to the US.
Yeah.
You know, so payment is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So tell me about Ticketer. So like what was the adoption like?
Ticketer, it was great. You know, we partnered with Above Group at the time to market us, and they did a launch at UE, and I think for the first week that we launched, we were number one in the Trini App Store.
Nice.
Right? But we beat out WhatsApp, you know, for the first week, and you know, we were getting like pretty high downloads, like over 1,000 downloads a day. And you know, we end up having a pretty good penetration, I think, because everybody who bought tickets on the app has to have a credit card, right?
Yes.
So you know, if credit card penetration is like 10%, you know, I think we got a lot of that segment,
right?
You know, as customers.
Yeah. And how does I mean, I haven't been to the cinema in a while, but how does Movie Town push it? Like, because I know they do trailers at the beginning usually.
Yeah.
Do they have any videos where they say, you know, download the Ticketer app kind of thing? Yeah.
I think for the first 2 years they were showing it, and then after they stopped. And I think that they were promoting us in the newspaper as well.
Right.
But I think that stopped the last time I looked as well. But yeah, they pushed us for a little bit, and we also did their website as well.
Okay.
So if you go onto Movie Town's website and you actually hit buy tickets, it will transition you to ticketer.co, and you can get your ticket there too. So we actually built like a web end, like, because we have like an iOS native app and an Android native app, and we also have a website as well.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
When you say when you say that the Android native and iOS native, you actually code for those platforms. So like you would have coded Objective-C.
Yeah.
For the iOS and Java?
Yeah.
For the Android? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We actually subcontracted a agency out of like Spain to do the Android.
Okay.
But we sort of crossed the line, but they did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Right.
Yeah, because we were just less experienced in Java. And,
okay, cool.
Yeah. So what is like the vision for Ticketer? Is there like a next level, or where is Ticketer now?
Ticketer right now is on a holding pattern.
Okay.
You know, it's been so for the last like year and a half. Like
Mhm.
we still invest in it when we need to. But
It's
right
still
now,
up and running and working and everything.
Yeah,
You can still
everything.
purchase.
Yeah.
But the marketing has sort of died down. The push.
Yeah. I think we're not looking to really expand it to different cinemas anymore or
Mhm.
across the Caribbean. A lot of our effort is going into M now,
Yeah.
and I think that's the right choice. But we
Mhm.
still want to maintain Ticketer because it's our first baby, and
Yeah.
you know, I know a lot of people still use it. So,
I mean, once it's not draining, funds
yeah,
to keep running it.
yeah, it pays for itself.
Cool. So okay, so let's jump into M Carnival.
Yeah. So M is our most recent, startup,
Right.
and we got an opportunity to build sort of like a management platform for a band, fantasy.
Okay.
Fantasy, right? So they came to us and they were like, "Hey, I need a way to sell costumes online."
Right.
A lot of the platforms out there do a really good job of selling tickets.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, when you get a carnival costume, it's very different from getting a ticket.
Yeah.
Beyond like the price of admission you're paying, you're almost like customizing a whole costume
Exactly.
for your body. So you could think of it more like buying a car, where you're like picking your rims,
Yeah.
your color and everything. So
True.
there's a lot of permutations that
Mhm.
go into that, as you can imagine, right? A carnival costume, you may have like 5 different choices.
Mhm.
And then you have like an upgrade, an add-on,
Yeah.
right? So the complexity there hadn't been solved in any other platform.
Mm.
So out the gate, that's what M Carnival Manager was meant to solve.
So they needed something custom that like what is this WordPress thing called? Is it WooCommerce? And so
Mhm.
there were no existing sort of out of the box solutions that could have solved that issue. I mean, like how custom does this go?
I mean, I'm sure with substantial effort, you could get a WooCommerce site to do it.
Right.
But the vision that we had was that once we build this from scratch, we could take it to the next level.
Yeah.
We can build tools specific to the carnival industry, like distribution.
And you're not trying to hack something to make it do like it
It's
ticks
from-
all the boxes
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Because there's like beyond just customizing a carnival costume, like these carnival bands, you have to deal with a lot of complexity.
Yeah.
Lots of complexity. Like if you're not in the country and you can't pick up your carnival costume,
Right.
you want to designate another person to pick up your carnival costume.
Right.
There's costume resales that happen. There's distribution that happens, which is like queuing and mass confusion most of the times, right? And like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's also like I can put a down payment on my costume. I don't pay the full price.
Right.
So there's a lot of complexities there that we're able to solve.
And you could pay in parts as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it just like a back end solution, or does it have like a front end store interface as well?
Yeah, there's a front end store.
Oh, so
And,
it's like a full thing. So you could
yeah.
you could upload their own images and all of that, and plug in their prices and
Yeah, they have payment schedules.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff inside there, and of course, like a lot of fine-grained inventory controls.
Right.
So if this particular size bra sells out,
Exactly.
you can order another one, but you can't order that. But there's also like how many packages you want to sell. Yeah, it's a lot of complication.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you guys didn't necessarily come up with the idea originally. You were approached.
Yep.
Because there was a need there, and you say, okay, we could build this thing, and then maybe we could roll it out to other bands as well.
Exactly.
So what year was that? How long ago was that?
That was 2016 when we launched, like in July. And, that was for the 2017 season for Fantasy. And
then how did you roll it out? Like how many are involved right now?
Yeah. So we have 70 bands right now. On
70?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's nice, man.
So,
okay.
when we're going into this, I didn't know that there were 70 bands out.
Yeah.
But we just signed a band.
I can name 3.
We just signed a band in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So
That's awesome.
Caribbean Carnival is all over the world.
Yeah.
Of course, right, because I'm just thinking about Trini Carnival, but there's
Right.
Carnival everywhere and there are
Yeah.
bands everywhere. And
Yeah.
right now you guys just own the market because there's no other.
We have a lot of the international market where we're able to see, carnival chasers going from one country to
Right.
the other. So after Fantasy, we signed Jamaica, which is a Jamaican band.
Okay.
And, Jamaican Carnival happens, a month or two after Trinidad Carnival.
Right.
So Jamaica Carnival has been growing like a lot.
Yeah.
Then there was Barbados we got involved with. After that, we did Miami. Then there's also New York. There's St. Lucia, Grenada. And then there's Notting Hill.
Right.
There's Carabana, which
Right.
is Toronto Carnival.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And now we've reached Japan.
And now Japan.
I know you're big in Japan.
Yeah, big in Japan. Yeah.
So you guys also handle like the content management, or they manage themselves? Like, what are the different structures? I guess there would be like an implementation fee, and then maybe like a management or a subscription. Like,
Yeah.
how does that work?
In terms of the fees,
Yeah.
yeah, we like much like Ticketer, what we do is we charge a convenience fee,
Right.
which
Okay.
is pretty standard across the industry.
Yeah. Oh, so they're not paying like a monthly fee to be part of it.
We do charge a small monthly fee, and we do that because how we structure this in the beginning is that when a band signs with us, we spin up their own server,
Okay.
their own database. So they have their own.
So they're
implementation.
hosting their own thing.
I mean, we host it for them,
You host it.
Yeah.
Okay.
but if Fantasy is up and running, they have their own server as opposed to Jamaica or
Right.
Caesar's Army,
Mhm.
and clients like that,
Yeah.
you know,
To have it separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as you can imagine.
Of course. So a lot of people are trying different things in the Caribbean.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And so like with the Ticketer, for example, you just kind of had this idea, you figured it was something that you would use, and you kind of launched, right? But you didn't go the whole market research, like how many, like you're doing surveys, how many people would be into this kind of thing. With M Carnival now, it's like, okay, you were approached for the with the idea, but like, what is the proper approach, or like, what is the way to do it? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what comes first?
Right. So I mean, if I was to do something again,
Yeah.
right, like if I was to come up with an idea,
Yeah.
the proper approach is the MVP approach, right?
Which is
minimum viable product, so
Right.
like
Right.
you don't put a lot of work into it initially.
Yeah.
If, say for instance, if I was doing Ticketer again,
Yeah.
and one of the assumptions that we made that turned out to be false is that all the theaters around the Caribbean would be interested in it.
Right.
That was a wrong assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
So the MVP process is how do you validate these assumptions way ahead of time,
Yeah.
where you could spend a lot less money, right?
Right.
Because it could be that if we knew that ahead of time, we wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, but if you want to go big with something, you have certain assumptions that you go into, and then you want to be able to validate those assumptions as early as possible. So
Right.
we could have like approached all the cinemas and said, hey, and showed them like pictures, and says, hey, we're going to have this in 3 months' time.
Yeah.
You want to sign on with us? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm super interested. I was actually looking for something like this. Or they'd be like, nah, I'm not interested, right? I don't want somebody external to build my platform.
Right. Yeah.
And the latter turned out to be true, not with Movie Town, but with all the rest.
Right.
So if I was doing it again, I would definitely spend a lot more time in that area of just validating.
And then I mean, even with the public as well, like it's like how many people would be interested in purchasing their movie tickets online?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I mean, sometimes I think people have a lot of cool ideas and it sounds cool in their head, but then does it actually translate into being extremely valuable to people? I think that's kind of where maybe you were going with it.
Yeah.
But I also think going back to what you said before that too, like sometimes if you sort of analyze the market too much,
Then you would never do nothing.
then you don't do anything.
Yeah, definitely
And
a
sometimes you
balance.
stumble on ideas as well and you execute them, and they turn out to be, like it could not have been predicted that this would work.
Yeah.
You just kind of had to do it.
Yeah.
And see, and people always don't know what they want either.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Well, that's the next thing, because even like Steve Jobs used to say, well, to hell with focus groups.
Yeah.
Like, I will tell them what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that's where I'm trying to get, like, is that the truth?
Yeah.
Or is it that, you really need to do your market research and, find out if the people want it, find out if maybe the companies you're looking at, if that's something they'll be interested in.
Yeah.
Before you launch something.
I think it kind of goes both ways. There's not one way that necessarily works. But I think that the world definitely has gone to this place where there's data for everything. Yeah. And it's possible to use that data to come to some kind of conclusion that helps people make better decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit of both, right? There's a little bit of insights and research, but then you had to go with your gut as well.
Yeah.
Some of that for sure. Yeah. And with the user groups, like, I think user groups do a very good job of telling you when there's a problem.
Right.
It's very hard to get from user groups what to build.
Yeah.
So we experienced that a bit at Amazon as well, where we do user focus groups, and they would definitely tell you, you built this wrong because there's too much friction to do this, and I didn't like this.
Yeah.
They're very good at telling you what they don't like.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get from them what they like or what would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
like
left up to you.
You have to see it first, and then you realize, well, I don't like these things, as opposed to saying upfront, this is what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So where did Amazon fall into all of this?
Amazon, so it was, Ticketer, and then went to Kixeye for a bit, and then after Kixeye was Amazon.
Right.
So Amazon, I spent the last 3.5 years there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Amazon's a great company. I learned a lot.
Oh, so you're still working on Amazon?
No,
I
okay. I quit in November.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you're all in on M.
All in on M.
Yeah.
Full time.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So are you aware with like what else is happening in the Caribbean? I hear Jamaica. There's a lot of innovation and apps and startups coming out of Jamaica. Are you familiar with anything?
Well, I attended Tech Beach in November.
Yeah.
Actually. So
Big up to Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle extended the invitation to me. So
yeah.
I went across there. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the Jamaican government is putting a lot of effort into, driving technology in Jamaica. So it seems like it seems like they're doing a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I was able to meet a lot of like really passionate people across there.
Right.
I met Zachary Harding, who is the CEO of SSL Ventures, and they are looking to invest in startups.
Wow. Look at that.
And he just had like a round table, and there were people who were in different they had different startups, and they are like different levels of maturity, and we were all just like talking, and I was real impressed with like these guys are like the real deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look at that. I mean, in Trinidad, we need some of that because the oil money done.
Yeah.
Right? The economy's in a mess. Maybe the ganja would save us. Maybe not. They legalize it and we're going to be exporting and whatever. But, I mean, I know we'll have to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah.
But to me, the tech startups is definitely the way to go. I mean, we have intelligent people here.
Yeah.
A lot of them kind of flying out though.
Yeah, they are.
Because that's where the work is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like, what advice would you have for people that want to get into this sort of industry?
Yeah, I think. I mean, my journey, has been just go and do it.
Yeah.
And if you build a good product and you invest the time. My bet was that people will take notice and you'll get traction. Obviously, that does not work 100% of the times, and I think I was a little bit lucky. But I my advice would be to be as passionate as possible about it. And it's not really about having a huge company and having tons of money. It's about solving problems.
Yeah.
And if you're passionate about that, I think even if the first time you don't stick the landing, the third or fourth time you will. You know? And it's about the persistence and, getting up again and again and, putting your all into it, So I'd say I look for those people when I want to hire somebody into M, say, right? Because it's not easy, and the rejection is not easy, and you get a lot of it in Trinidad too, because I feel like a lot of the larger companies have been burnt, from startups that promised to do X, Y, and Z, and they didn't fulfill it, So they rightly, a little
cautious,
jaded, so you're gonna get rejected, and that's why I think it's always good to like lead in. When we showed up in Movie Town with a built app, they didn't expect that, right? I would say just start something and do it, and reach out to the community as well. I think what y'all doing here is great. Y'all are fostering a community, and I would love to help in any way that I can. You know? So
that's cool. There's something you touched on there about people that you hire. How important do you think it is to go to university and get a degree in this space?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you said like you picked up some books and you taught yourself a lot. Like how far would being self-taught take you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think university really taught me how to learn at a rapid pace. Right. It definitely teaches you that. Like I am sure, it puts you in contact with a lot of great people as well who are super, super passionate, and you build those relationships, and you're able to do classes together that stretch you. You know? I don't know if I was just doing it on my own, if I would have stretched myself that much. It's the difference between if you go to the gym just by yourself and if you have a trainer.
Perfect analogy.
That's great.
So I think it's great for that, and
plus you is like-minded people that you're meeting as well, where I mean if you were there, I mean there are a lot more people now, right? But I'm sure back then when you were 15, 16, it would have just been you, and you wouldn't know anybody else that you could maybe learn from or meet up with. Is that fair?
No, I think that's completely fair. And college did get me the opportunity to go to EA, where I was able to start my career. So I think for me it was definitely important. I think nowadays that there's a lot different avenues that people can do. They can do online courses, they can do online schools, right? And I know Amazon for one was very open to hiring people that didn't have a degree, but they showed the passion and the drive to do it on their own. So
I mean Dexter and I, when we were working at Lonsdale in the digital marketing division, there was a time when we were looking for a developer. Remember that, Dexter? And we decided that we would love to get somebody who was young but like real hungry and passionate about it. And we reached out to like a few of the local schools. So I think we reached out to SPCS. And we reached out to some others, and like we spoke to some of the teachers, and we asked them, like send us the list of your top students in what course would it have been? Like web development or web engineering. And we called up some of these students, and we would ask them, when you went to school, like what have you built since then? Like maybe show us like portfolio with recent work or whatever. And these were the top students, right? And the students would normally say, well, I haven't built anything since I left. So to me that was kind of funny. Like if you get into this thing, it's because you want to build websites, and you'll probably build a website for your uncle or your auntie or your friend or whoever. So that we were kind of taken aback. And then when we kind of drill down, like, why did you get into web development? It's like, well, my mom or somebody thought it was a good idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was kind of eye-opening that just because you did good in the course doesn't necessarily mean that you're passionate about it. Whereas I think we ended up finding some other people who did not.
Yeah, they didn't have the kind of qualifications,
but they were self-taught, and they
yeah.
self-taught because they had like the motivation, and they, like self-motivation is a big thing as well, right?
Yeah.
But I could still understand completely what you've been saying about what you learn at universities. You know, it's super important as well.
Yeah. And then I'm sure too, like from working at EA and Amazon, you've taken stuff away that you use in your companies now. Like you have learned tons.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Amazon for me was very different because that's when I transitioned into like an engineering manager.
Right.
So it's you learn a lot of different skills when you're doing management. Instead of like you doing the development yourself, you're leading a team to do it. And you learn about different processes and mechanisms you put in place to make sure that things are done properly. And how do you motivate a team? Like, that
the whole people side of things.
Yeah. All of those things, like, I didn't really have a complete grasp of before, So that was very interesting. And that's helped me a lot as well because, at M, we're getting to a stage where we can't do everything. We need to hire developers and, make sure that they're motivated, they have the right things to like work on. It's definitely a learning process for me.
Yeah. And what is the M team like? Like how many people involved and like what different roles you have and that kind of stuff?
We have 14 people on board right now. So we have myself, my co-founder Stavros, the same guy from
Ticketer.
Yeah.
Right.
We have 3 developers right now, 1 QA, 2 sales, 1 customer support, and social media manager.
Right.
I can't remember where I'm at right now, but the team is definitely growing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were saying it's not everybody all in one building, right? Like it's a remote team.
Yeah, completely remote.
Yeah.
Completely remote. So we have people in London, Trinidad. Chris right now, I think, is in Singapore.
Big up, Chris.
Yeah. Texas, San Diego, San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, that's so cool. I mean, that's the future. But they still have companies in Trinidad where the boss want to see you there. Sitting in your seat.
Yeah.
Because if you're not there, then you're not working.
Yeah.
According to him or her.
I would prefer to have an office where we all can get together, and not because like I need to see your butt in a seat to be working, but
for collaboration
is just so
brainstorming,
much easier.
Better,
So what they say about remote-based companies is you put a lot more processes in place earlier on.
Yeah.
So that you could have the remote work, So I think it would be great to have an office and have everybody come in so we can
at least like once a week or a couple of times a week or something for those moments, and then you could kind of take it away.
Right. Yeah. But the way that we've grown, it's just not a reality now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So managing a remote team now, like Slack and different software apps and video calling and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. We, because we're on the West Coast, we start our day off really early.
Right.
I usually start off at 5 a.m. or something. And then we have our first stand-up at 8 a.m. our time, which is like 11 a.m. Trinidad time.
Right.
So, and that's when we sort of like get the company and get everyone in sync on what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And then, we would have other meetings after that. But the first half of the day is usually spent in meetings.
Yeah.
Second half of the day is like heads down time and get a little coding.
Right. So how do you track, because with the remote team, right? Like how do you track like productivity and what people are doing?
Yep.
How does that work?
Yeah, we use Jira for task management.
Oh, I'm familiar with Jira.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we usually have sync calls every morning, just check on status and everything. And then we usually do things in sprints. I'm sure you're all familiar with sprints. So we have 2-week sprints. Everything is tracked in Jira, and we do a weekly release, which I think is too much, but we do a weekly release right now.
Right. Okay.
So things are always rolling out. So a lot of clients, because Carnival is so seasonal, when band picks back up the following year, we have a lot of changes. So we usually have to do training with them again to make sure that they know of all the bells and whistles we put in.
Right. So it's actually a constantly evolving platform.
Absolutely,
Because they keep
yeah.
building new
Yeah, I mean,
features
weekly
and-
updates that's very frequent.
Yeah.
That's real frequent.
Yeah.
Weekly is a lot.
Yeah, nah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So what is the future for M Carnival?
Future for M. I think is going to be continue to expand. Obviously,
Yeah.
we would like to dabble a little bit in the event space too.
Right.
Fets. I think it makes a lot of sense for us, since we do a lot of the bands around the world. They also throw fets and events too.
Yeah.
So having that in the system too, I think makes sense because they have their user base there. And then beyond that, what we've seen happening is a lot of the carnival around the world have concierges. So concierges would be responsible for booking trips and hotels.
Right.
We want to bring them onto the platform too and give them the tools that they need.
Right.
To book costumes and events and stuff.
Yeah.
And also external vendors. They have people doing stockings for carnival, which is huge.
Yeah.
People doing like makeup artists
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
spray tans, and we think it would be great to give them some real estate on the site. So when people are booking their costumes, they can book these things too. So
Now, is it one site or is it several sites? So because each carnival band has its own
They do.
site, right?
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And we're going to keep that. So what it would be is that they would be able to, if I wanted to bring Dexter in, because he's a fantastic, he gives me a really good spray tan, right? I can be
I
like,
can see
okay,
Dexter
cool.
doing that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like fantasy or could say, okay, cool, yeah, I'll host you on my site,
Right.
And you'll get clientele through that.
Right.
So something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds real cool. I mean, the actual scope of this thing is it could be huge. I mean, it's big already, but it could be way bigger if
Yeah.
once you start adding in all those additional
Correct.
areas.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So
You kind of not stumbled upon the idea, but fantasy approached you and it's like, there we go.
yeah, we definitely had the opportunity, and it really we hit product market fit pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It turns out there was a real need for that type of software
Right.
in the industry. And before, I think people were using Excel.
Right.
They were doing MoneyGram.
Right.
If you think about if you live in the States, how you would jump up with like fantasy or even Friends for the Road.
Yeah.
It was difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully we play a role in expanding the carnival market as well by making it easier. You're making that barrier of entry for foreign people to play a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do payments work with Carnival Manager? Is it
So we use Stripe.
Stripe?
We
Okay.
use Stripe, and the money is split, and the band's portion goes to them, and we take the small convenience fee that we charge.
Right.
So Stripe plugs into or speaks with First Atlantic. Like how does that work?
No,
No,
it does not.
First Atlantic for M.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
No.
So how do you get your money in your Trini bank account?
So a lot of these bands have US based accounts,
Ah, okay.
yeah, which makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
makes it
So
a
you
lot
need a
easier.
US based account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of the payment gateway solutions we have right now? I mean, most people use First Atlantic Commerce, I guess, because it works, and you get your money in your local account. But then there's like We Pay Now.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it seems to be doing okay. I mean,
I mean, they're visible, but I don't know what business they're actually doing.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know much. I mean, the options are kind of limited.
Yeah.
I know at one point you were in that, you were looking into that,
Yeah.
trying to build some kind of solution. What happened there?
Yeah, we that was off the heels of Ticketer actually,
Right.
because from our experience, it was such a painful process. We were thinking, how do we make this better? So we did embark upon that. We started to talk to a lot of banks. We explored the idea of payment aggregation, which is accepting money on other people's behalf and then dispersing the money to them, which is like how Stripe and those guys do it.
Right.
it just turns out that that is
Red
so much red tape. Like banks are like one of the oldest institutions, and like they have a ton of red tape to get through, and you need millions of dollars to even get out the gate. And we didn't have that sort of disposable income, and so that sort of fizzled out for us. But it was my passion for a while.
I just feel like that is holding us back in a big way in the Caribbean. You know, like the whole payment side to simplify that, as well as make it easier for people to pay who don't have credit cards. Like if we could get to the point where everybody with a debit card could purchase things online, it's going to open it up for everybody. To start selling online. You know,
I agree.
But for that to happen, as you said, it's really the banks that need to.
It's the banks, but I mean, as the more we explore this space as well, it's a lot of risk management too. Like disputes, fraud, and all those things are just realities of the world,
right?
And we found out the banks are very process oriented because of that fact, right? They're the ones sort of like the gatekeepers, and we understand like why they needs to have that much red tape. So I think it needs to be solved. I think we need to be careful in how we solve it as well. And I know Alwyn and those guys at WePay are doing a good job of that too. So I'm really interested to see where they take that. I've been seeing a lot of news about them moving up through the Caribbean, striking a bunch of great deals, so I'm really hoping that they're able to solve it in a really elegant way.
I mean, if anybody does it, it looking like them. I mean, they seem to have everything together and a good team over there as well. You know. So yeah. All right. So besides M now, like, are you still kind of looking for the next thing? Are you one of those entrepreneurs that kind of gets bored? Okay, I've perfected this. Now I need to do something else. Are you always on the lookout for that next idea?
M is a fairly new thing for me full time, right? Because I just jumped from like November.
Right, of course.
So very much so. I'm sort of like still trying to keep my head above water with like all of that and that work. You don't want to dilute yourself as well. I mean, like M is growing at such a rate that we need to invest as much as we can of our time now. So I don't have like any time right now to think about anything else. Maybe half an hour before I go to bed, like I think about the next thing.
Right.
But there's no way I can work on anything else right now, which is good in a way, right? Because
so you're
investing 100% of your time into something you believe in. But if it gets to that point, maybe in a couple of years, and M is doing really well and it doesn't need like 100% of my time, sure, I'll totally.
And what about stuff like raising and getting investments and that sort of thing, or are you all sort of self-funded right now?
Yeah, we're 100% bootstrapped.
Yeah, that's
which
great.
Is I'm really proud of that. Really, really proud of that. So I think maybe raising is something we'll do in the future to accelerate growth and maybe, to form strategic partners. Might be interesting. But no, it's not something we've done in the past.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
What are you excited about now in tech, though, in general? I mean, initially you were into the games, and that's kind of what got you in. And then I guess you moved to mobile app development with Ticketer. And well, M Carnival Band Manager is more web-based, but like, is there any other tech that you find particularly interesting that you might want to jump into? I mean, we were just talking about payments, and there's obviously blockchain and crypto now as well. So, like, where's your head with all this stuff?
And then you have the augmented reality, you have AI, you have,
VR. And
when I was at Amazon, I got to do a bit of work with Alexa and that technology, and ways to interact with computers, I think is super interesting. Like AR, VR.
Elon is working on the brain whatever interface.
That's super interesting.
That's crazy.
I'd love to do some stuff in VR and AR. So if I had some spare cycles, I'd love to.
If you could clone yourself.
Yeah, if I could clone myself, I would definitely do some of that.
Yeah, for real. I actually saw this thing on the news the other day. This girl her name is Alexa, you know, and her mom wrote this article basically saying that Alexa ruined her daughter's life, right? Because, you know, she goes to school and everybody talks to her like she's like a servant. Like, Alexa, bring my phone. Alexa, what is, you know? I thought I was kind of funny and ridiculous.
Yeah. That's like a word that we try not to use at Amazon.
Yeah, because things just go off in the...
Yeah, because in every meeting room now, there's an Alexa device.
Yeah. Right.
So, you know, as soon as you say Alexa, everything like turns on and she's like, I don't know what you mean. You know? But, so you just see like A or like some abbreviation.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny.
All right.
Yeah.
What is San Francisco like in terms of and just
expensive?
I could imagine.
I mean, but I guess you're surrounded by people in that tech space and people with lots of ideas and doing cool stuff. So it's I guess it's very inspiring to be there. Like, you prefer being there, or you move back to Trinidad and run the company here? Like,
yeah, I enjoy being in San Francisco, and I have for a while, mostly because of what you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Like the drive and the people across there you're able to meet, and it's great. I don't particularly like the housing prices and like how expensive it is. But I enjoy it for that. You know, I don't think I'd move back to Trinidad just because like our life is across there now. You know? And I have a son now. So,
right. Okay, cool.
Thinking about him too. But Trinidad always holds a special place in my heart, you know. And a lot of the company, I think all the companies I've started have been like Caribbean based in some form or fashion, you know. So, you know, I think Trinidad will always be like, you know, home.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we've started to grow roots in San Francisco and, you know, the West Coast. So I think we'll probably stay there. Yeah.
But I mean, it's still super cool that, you know, you're working on solutions of the problems here. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not like you forgot us.
Never, man. Never.
Yeah. That's great, man.
I've also like dabbled with the idea of coming back for a little bit to teach, you know, which
that would be awesome.
Cool, you know,
that would be really good.
So I was playing around with that idea today. I was taking a drive down to Rio Claro. I think that'd be super cool to do, and a really nice way to like give back and you know. So,
I mean, you could kind of do that online as well. You could have your own course, and market it down here. Different ways to do that. In 2020.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
But what do you think of like the options right now for learning online? Like, where do you think is really good?
You know, to be honest, I haven't done a lot of online courses.
Right.
Udacity was something that I played around for a while, and you know, I always start something and I never get into it because of time. So yeah, I don't have too much of an opinion on that, but I know a lot of friends who have done courses and what are they called, micro degrees.
Right.
Okay.
On that, especially in the field of like machine learning.
Right.
So yeah, and they've said good things.
Yeah. I mean, lynda.com used to have, well, they still have tons of stuff. I think they've been bought over by LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So there's LinkedIn Learning. In fact, like quite a few offices now, I mean, depending on the company, they are having like free access to LinkedIn Learning, you know, for their employees, which I think is huge. So you could always be learning, you know. I mean, especially for like a digital agency or some sort of creative company. Every time a new version of Adobe whatever comes out, there's like new things to learn, you know. So it makes sense,
right,
to always be learning, new things. That's cool, man. So Dex, anything else we on our list there that we didn't cover?
I think we covered pretty much all of it.
Did you do your big up at the beginning?
I did not. So
you gotta tuck it on the end here now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have someone who listens quite often to our show, Anita Rampol, and she kind of hooked us up.
All right.
With Mr. Talma as well. So
thank you, Anita.
I'm gonna shout out Anita, and then there's these guys that meet up every Tuesday or almost every Tuesday at Tommy's in Movie Town. Actually, a bunch of web developers.
Nice.
And Chris is part of that group, but he's not in the country.
Traveling the world.
Yeah. So I want to big up those guys as well. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, fellas.
All right, bro. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Take it easy.
All right.
All right.
Later.
Yeah.